This is a very rare beast, and this is a car that I actually didn't even know existed. This is a 1992 Holden Calibra. There is a lot of one-off, unique, interesting things about this car, and I have never seen one of these in person, let alone one in this condition. It is absolutely phenomenal, this thing. It really is. Back in 1992, this was $39,000, about the same price of a VP Calais. So this was not cheap. This was a big dollar car. I mean, you could probably get a house for that. But let's have a look around it, and I want to show you a lot of the one-offs about this thing because it really has a lot of character. So this car was made by Opel over in Germany, but it does sort of look like a VNVP at the front. You can sort of see that square headlight design that was really common. And what's interesting is the Calibra was actually designed first, before the VP. And you can sort of see where Holden would have got a bit of their design language for the VP, and it would have been from this car so that they had a whole consistent product lines. But this car to me is just fascinating. I have never seen one, let alone in this condition, in this color, with this driveline. It's a really cool combination. Unlike some of the other cars on the channel that I've had, like the Chimera or some of the other, you know, maybe not big dollar items, it's quite rare to see one like this so well preserved. And it's refreshing. And so when you're driving this, or when you see one at a car show, whatever, it is a real head turner because it is one of those cars that, you know, maybe people didn't think to preserve so well. So when you see one like this, that has had so much time, money, and love, you know, it's really cool. Now the Calibra had independent rear suspension, Bilstein shock absorbers, and 15-inch alloy wheels, probably to match a lot of the design of the VP Commodore that it was up against, just so that, you know, when you're walking around the showroom back in the early 90s, all these cars looked consistent. One of the reasons why there are so few of these left is the Calibra, like a lot of Commodores and Falcons and, you know, a lot of other GMs and Ford stuff, is they've gone through a period where they're worth nothing. And because of that, people bought these cars to run them around racetracks or buy them to pull the engines out of and put them in Geminis and things like that. So it's actually pretty rare to see one complete. Then again, it's rare enough to see one with the 4-cylinder, and then rare enough to see it in this condition. The 4-cylinder only ran for a couple of years, and then they switched to the Opel V6, which Holden couldn't give away. So one thing that really surprised me about this car is just how big the boot is. It is really big, and this is a 4-seater, not a 2-seater, and there's a lot of stuff back here. We've got a full-size spare, we've got a first aid kit, there's a lot of little cubby storage space, we have a safety triangle. There's a lot of stuff back here, and just the opening is really big, and as you close it, it's got a parcel shelf, and so honestly, it's a very big usable space. And as a 4-seater, it's also got 60-40 split rear seats, which is very cool. So here is our 2-litre, 110 kilowatt Opel motor, 4 cylinders of Fury. So these engines actually really saved Holden in the early 90s. These engines were built in Port Melbourne, sent to Germany, put in Calibras, and then the Calibras came back to Australia. They are 16 valves, 4 valve per cylinder with multi-point sequential fuel injection. Again, early 90s, very, very cool. And what's cool about this particular engine bay, this thing is spotless. It really is extremely tidy. It's cleaner than the inside of my car. It is very, very clean in here. And one thing I love is that it unashamedly says Opel. Holden didn't bother with putting a cover on it or anything like that. It's plain to see, which is really funny. It's just funny that they did that because they went to all the effort around the car of badges and one-off center caps and things like that, but they didn't change this, which is really funny. One of the reasons these cars didn't sell so well back in their day is if we have a look at the competition, have a look at the other cars that were available in the market. We're talking about the Integra, the Toyota Celica, the MX-5. And then there's this, the Holden Calibra, that's, you know, the best part of $10,000 more back then than any of those cars. While the Calibra is cool, and it is a fantastic look back in the history of Holden, you can understand why these probably didn't sell so well. I mean, even back then, the Japanese cars had a great reputation of being reliable and fun, and, you know, for a lot less money. Another crazy feature that this car has, and you'll have to be patient with me here, is it's got halogen ellipsoid electric self-leveling headlights. So basically what that means is that, you know, if you're going up a hill or whatever, or you're going down a hill, or I don't know, whatever you're doing, the car will self-level its headlights just like a Rolls Royce. While we're here as well, one of the things that's really rare about this one is it's got these headlight protectors. Again, really, really rare. And I was even saying to the owner of this car, I don't even know how Holden made money with this car, because there is just so many one-off things that they've just printed. You know, this has the Holden logo on it, but there was, you know, not that many of these made. So I don't know how they did it. One thing that the owner has just showed me is there's a little light here, and you can press a button inside and light up the engine bay, so you can, I don't know, work on your car, change your oil, do whatever. As we've gone through the engine bay, you also might have noticed that the battery in this thing is massive, and that is because this has a lot of sort of one-off electrics that the car requires, that the car needs, and so it really does need a big battery, otherwise it's going to struggle. It's also got these individual sports headers, so they're not like a normal exhaust manifold where it all goes into one. It's all separate, which is pretty cool. Here's another view of the styling of the rear end, and it kind of looks like, I don't know, it looks very European, doesn't it? Sort of similar to maybe some of the Astras or things that were later to come, especially these tail lights. It looks very Vauxhall. Another thing that's really special about this one is it's still got its original exhaust tips, the twin tips, which is very rare, you know, for a factory car to have this. As you can tell by the badging, you know, it says Calibra 16 valve, and we have the Holden logo here that is pretty much ripped straight off a Commodore. This car also has rear fog lights, which is very, very cool. A feature that really was very important in Europe. If you're driving in Europe rather than Australia, obviously there is a lot more snow, a lot more fog, that kind of thing. So these are really handy because they, you know, they show people where you are. It's actually reasonably spacious in here. It really is, and this steering wheel is so 90s. It really reminds me of the Astra, but this one's much nicer. Like, it's all very clean, it's leather. You can see that this car's got 180,000 Ks, very different cluster than anything that I'm used to. And there's so many little knobs and buttons, and everything is here. We have an analog clock, and we have our sliding dials, which feel fantastic. Everything is big and chunky. Down here we also have our little ashtray, and it's very well hidden so that no one has to see your cigarettes and your ash. That is really, really cool. This particular one, 5-speed manual, and I haven't driven it yet as of recording this, but I won't lie, I'm pretty excited. This car has power windows as well, which is very cool for the age, and it has power mirrors as well. These have pillarless doors. Again, that was a feature that was, you know, pretty intense in the early 90s to have pillarless doors on a GM product. And we also have our tape decks here, which you can press a little button and the whole thing pops up. So we have 4 of those, so you can store up to 4 tape decks. If we open up the glove box here, there is actually a little slider or a little bracket, I'm not sure what you call it, but anyway, it's like a little vent that's covering up the air conditioning of the car. So you can actually put your drinks in here, close it up, and it's like a little fridge, like a little esky. How cool is that? And this pocket also is really, really deep up above it. I guess the idea for that actually is when you're putting your drinks in there, you don't want to have all your manuals and stuff probably with all your drinks, so maybe just slide those in there. But as you would expect, this car has every possible service history and book, and it has been meticulously maintained, this car. I'm sure that's not a surprise, but very cool to see. And this is the mechanical release for the sunroof, just in case it ever gets stuck or wound up or whatever, but pretty cool to have in the car, just in case. And the other thing that I need to mention is the seats are made by Recaro. Again, like, just all of these little things really add to this car feeling really special and ahead of its time. All right, guys, we are in the Holden Calibra now, and I genuinely have not driven this yet. We have just swapped seats, so my very first thought is the clutch is extremely light, isn't it? It's very light. And of course, the indicators are on the other side because this is a Euro car. There we go. So this is a real experience, and I even just said to the owner, you know, when I started my channel, this is probably a car that I never thought that I would experience. Actually, now that I say it, probably because I didn't even know it existed. But my first impressions as I just drive around this new estate is the steering is extremely tight, this car. And like one of some of the other cars that I've had on the channel, actually the one that comes to mind is the Chimera, is rather than having full and empty on the dash, it's got how many litres of fuel. So you guys can't see it here, but we've got just over 30 litres. This car drives great. Another thing is the road noise. You guys might not hear it, but there is no road noise on this thing. Nothing. The shifting is so smooth on this car. The clutch is really light though. That's probably surprised me. Most cars, I guess, that I've driven that are Holdens are this big, heavy, wow, very cool car to drive. I can't believe how nice it drives, but it does feel very different than Commodores or Falcons, that's for sure, which is probably the best, yeah, probably the best thing that I've got to compare it to. But guys, a lot of these videos that I record, I have to edit out the road noise. I won't have to on this. It is really quiet. I'll go left. Yep. It's very, very quiet in here. And you know, being a 5-speed manual as well, that was the car to get. The automatic didn't come with this transmission, had the same engine as the Chimera, I believe, so it was quite a lot slower, probably because of all that sound deadening. I did forget to mention, guys, that we actually do have the air conditioning on as well, which, remember, on these older cars, that actually does make a bit of a difference. Totally forgot that was even even a thing, but no, this is a really nice driving car. Really hard to believe, first of all, that it's the same age as a VP, but second of all, that it's, you know, more than 30 years old. That's really crazy. But very nice to drive, very comfortable. Like, I just can't believe how quiet it is. Just checking. Oh yeah. Honestly, guys, it is surprisingly quick for what it is and for the age. It really does go all right. I'm actually surprised by how well this drives. It's really impressive. I really hope you guys enjoyed. I mean, this car is really different than what I normally feature, but I really think that it is going to have a lot of interest. I really think you guys are going to like this car. Something totally different, very rare in this condition. It was a rare car anyway, really. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you guys would like your car on the channel, then please feel free to get in touch. I really appreciate everyone for following along, liking, subscribing, and thank you for watching, guys. I really do mean that.